Hey, welcome to Red Rock. My name is Derek. Good to see you guys today. I want to give a shout out to anybody who's visiting for the very first time. If you're online or in the room here, man, we're so glad that you're here. And when anybody comes to Red Rock, even for the first time, we say we want it to feel like you are family. And a big piece of that would just be having the opportunity to get to know you a little bit. So after services today, come on out to the info bar. If you're watching online, click on the info bar. It's a place where we come together, we get to know you a little bit, and then you have an opportunity to ask any questions and really get you connected around here. We would love to do that with you. And we want to give a shout out to anybody who's giving and say thanks so much for giving to the cause, to the mission here at Red Rock. When you give to Red Rock, man, that ministry just multiplies, and God does big stuff with that. If you have any questions about giving, go to our website, redrockchurch.org, and you can click on that give button there. We want to explain a little bit what's going to happen in the next hour. We're going to do a little bit of teaching together, kind of hanging out and learning a little bit, but also we're going to sing some songs. We call that worship. That's just telling God who He is to us, how we feel about Him, and proclaiming, hey, we love you so much, God. So that's what it's going to look like over the next hour. So we're glad that you're here for that. Online, we love that you guys are tuning in as well. Right now, we're going to get started here in a little bit. So if you want to say hey to somebody around you, if you're at home and you want to go grab a cup of coffee, this is a great time to do that, but then we'll get started together. Today's City Service is the 6th year helping spread volunteers from churches and businesses and organizations all over the Pikes Peak region. So we are so excited to be able to just spread people around, smiles on our faces, and just loving and serving in every way that we can.
So we are here at Midland Elementary, and it is such an honor for us to be able to renovate a little bit this playground. To be united, you really can't be together and be one unless you love one another, no matter your background, no matter your race, no matter your space in life. And so when we can come together and lock arms, there is no greater expression than unity and then loving one another.
So we're here in Pikes Peak Park. This is the neighborhood that I have grown up in, and Rise Southeast and Cause I Love You has partnered up yet again to bring some projects to Southeast. So I'm excited to share it with the rest of the city. United in love, to me that means bringing people from the opposite side of town to our neighborhoods to meet neighbors, to get together, learn about each other, and then do something good for each other.
I chopped off some branches. I mowed the yard. I feel like God's very happy.
So we're at Holmes Middle School, and we're sitting here working on grinding a couple of tree stumps, and then we're also building a raised planter bed for the school here.
We are doing City Serve Day just because a lot of these projects wouldn't get done otherwise, and it shows our students and staff that they are valued and do have value.
My name is Deputy Laura Robley, and I am the Community Relations and Outreach Unit for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. And we're here today. We have about a 25-person team, and United is something that is on our badge here. That's one of our tenets of being a successful police officer and deputy in our community. Love is just passion and kindness and just putting somebody else before yourself. So United in that goal is huge, and that's what the Sheriff's Office represents.
So we're at First Presbyterian Church, and we're making cards for care facilities today. When you think about volunteering, you think it might be kind of scary or you don't know what it's going to be like. Well, I am so glad that I just dove right in because I've had the best time today. I made new friends. It's just an all-around good feeling, so I encourage you to volunteer.
My favorite thing about it is making big sandcastles. I love a lot of people and I like serving people. I love City Sir!
Check. There we go. My help with mic's on. Go ahead and stand up, everybody. Welcome to Red Rock. We're going to worship this morning where we thank God for who He is and for what He's done for us. So come on, let's lift up our song this morning. You are with me, and what can separate us? And you are for me, and what can stand against us? Your love, it won't let go. I know it won't. Darkness and shadows, they have no power over me. Fear is empty, and shame has no authority. Your love, it won't let go. I know it won't. I know your thoughts, your plans for me are good, and I know you hold my future and my hope. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Healing, freedom, as you speak favor over me. Faith is breaking all impossibility. Your name has overcome. Your name alone. I know your thoughts, your plans for me are good, and I know you hold my future and my hope. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Oh, I know they won't guide. Oh, every promise is yes and amen. So come on, we sing this out. That I am standing on every promise that you make. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. Jesus, I will trust every word I hear you say. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. I am standing on every promise that you make. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. Jesus, I will trust every word I hear you say. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. I am standing on every promise that you make. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. Jesus, I will trust every word I hear you say. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. I will see it come to pass in your name, in your name. Oh, yeah. Come on, we sing. That I know your thoughts, come on, your plans for me are good. I know you hold my future and my hope. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Your promises never fail. Oh, the king of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. And let the king of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, we sing, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, and let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. And let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. Let the king of, come on, sing it out, be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. And let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, you're good. Oh, 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 you're never gonna let me down. Come on, sing it till you believe it today. You're never gonna let me down. He won't leave you. And you're never gonna let me down, no. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. No, you won't. You're never gonna let me down, no. You're never gonna let me down. You're never gonna let me down. 'Cause you're good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're good. Oh, you are good, you're confident you won't guide. You're always there, Lord. You're always there, God. Can't go back to the beginning. place where you promised to be. Not enough unless you come. Would you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Would you meet me here again? Oh, I need you. I need you. As I walk now through the valley, let your love rise above every fear, like the sun shaping the shadows. In my weakness, your glory appears. Oh, I'm not enough unless you come. Would you meet me here again? Oh, I need you, Lord. 'Cause all I want is all you are. Would you meet me here again? I'm not enough. I'm not enough unless you come. Would you meet me here again? Meet me here, God. 'Cause all I want is all you are. Would you meet me here again? Oh, yeah. Oh, I need you, Lord. Right here with me, God, I need you. Oh, I need your power. I need your love, God. Need your faithfulness, Lord. Oh, not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Not for a minute was I forsaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Come, Holy Spirit, dry bones awaken. The Lord is in this place. The Lord is in this place. Oh, you're here, God. I need your presence, Lord. I'm not enough, come on, sing. Unless you come, would you meet me here again? Right where I'm at. 'Cause all I want is all you are. Would you meet me here again? 'Cause I'm not enough. I'm not enough unless you come. Would you meet me here again?
What's up, Red Rock? My name's Derek. I want to welcome anybody who's watching online. We love that you guys are plugged in. For you, those in the room, let me hear you right now. There we go. Let them know out there online that we're here. And man, it's great to be here. Great to worship with you guys. I want to remind you of a big weekend we have coming up. November 1st, it's a Sunday. We are so excited. We're going to do baptisms on this stage. We're building up to say, man, if you've wanted to have that conversation about who Jesus is to you, we have a couple weeks to have that conversation. Then we're going to come in here together and we're just going to celebrate as a family. So if you've known anybody that's been thinking about that, hit up the info bar, go to our website, click on next steps. You can let us know, and we would love to talk to you about that. Today we got a great message for you. I'm really excited about this. PD is interviewing Stu Davis. We watched that video from Cause I Love You, a great community partner of ours doing incredible things in Colorado Springs. Today we're going to interview Stu and say, hey, what are you doing? What's God doing? And then how do we become a part of that? We've been talking a lot about this new building that we're going into, which is so exciting, so fun, but we cannot forget that, man, the building is not the church. You guys are the church, and we want to rock Colorado Springs world when we go into the city and serve them and love them and show them the light and joy of Jesus. And if it's your first time today, you need to know that's what we're all about, man. We love the gift that God's given us, and we want to share it with others. If you have questions about Red Rock, stop by the info bar. We'd love to answer those, get to know you a little bit out there too. So right now, what I want you to do, we're about to jump into the message. Before we do that, turn to somebody around you, give an elbow bump or like an air high five, and then go ahead and grab a seat.
What's up, church family? I am so sad that I can't be with you all this weekend in the room, but that doesn't mean that we pause or stop tracking with what God has been doing in the life of our church over these past few weeks. If you're new with us, welcome. My name is Petey. I'm the lead pastor here, and we've been talking about this concept that Jesus is worth it all. We got a ton of exciting things happening in our church right now, and I know that if you've been joining us, maybe for the first time over these past few weeks, you've probably been asking, like, why? Why is all this happening? Why are you buying a new building? Why are you baptizing people? Why are people signing up to serve? Like, why is all this happening? And it's because we believe that Jesus is truly worth it all. That so many of us have spent time really studying who Jesus is through the historical documents that we have in the New Testament. And we've come to this belief that based on his life, his teachings, his death, and his resurrection, that he is worth everything we have. We've been talking about this story that Jesus taught us 2,000 years ago. In Matthew chapter 13, verse 44, he says that the kingdom of God is like a treasure that a man discovered hidden in a field. And in his excitement, he hid it and then went and sold everything he owned so that he could buy that field. It's this concept that when you really, really understand who Jesus is, you start living like he's worth it all. And in fact, that's actually how life was meant to be lived. That if you'll live like Jesus is worth it all, you'll start to experience what many of us in the room and many of us watching online have experienced, which is life to the full. Jesus said that the greatest commandment, like the key to being human, the key to understanding what it means to be fully alive, is to love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. And so we've just been taking some time over these past few weeks and figuring out how we can love God with all of our heart, all of our soul, all of our mind, and all of our strength. And today we're wrapping it up by talking about how to love God and why we should love God with all of our strength. Now, when Jesus was asked this question about what's the greatest commandment in life, like what's the key to being human, Jesus responded the same way in several different instances, but there's a little slight variation in the wording, in the way that Jesus answered it in one specific instance. It's not a change in what he meant, but it's a change in the wording, and I think it actually reveals a key piece to understanding what it means to love God with all of our strength. In Matthew chapter 22, Jesus is asked, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus says that you should love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind, but he leaves off the phrase and all your strength. He actually adds a second part to it. He says there's a second commandment that's equally important. Basically elevates it to the greatest commandment. He says you should love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second commandment is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's as if Jesus in his mind inseparably ties loving God with all of your strength with the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus actually kind of repackaged this concept in a different setting where he was talking to a different audience. And he said, I'm giving you a new commandment. This is in John chapter 13, verse 34. He says, I'm giving you a new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. It's this concept that if you really want to love God with all of your strength, if you want to live like Jesus is worth all of your strength, the key to doing it is loving other people, serving other people, making a tangible difference in the lives of people all around you, whether it's in your workplace, in your neighborhood, in your school, in your home. Loving people well is the key to loving God with all of your strength. And so what I want to do today is I want to sit down for an interview with Stu Davis, the director of 'Cause I Love You. And you know, 'Cause I Love You is just an incredible organization here in our city that has its roots here at Red Rock Church. And this organization is making a tangible difference in our city. And so I want to sit down with Stu and just have a conversation about what 'Cause I Love You is doing right now and what it's about to venture into. But also just to hear from him and hear his heart and his perspective on what it means to love God with all of your strength as we look to serve others and love others well. So check out this interview with Stu Davis. We are here with Stu Davis, who's the director of 'Cause I Love You. Stu, we're pumped to have you with us, man.
I'm so glad to be here always.
And so, we have had a long history with 'Cause I Love You, and Red Rock loves this organization so much, and love the work you're doing in the city. But I also know that, when I think about Red Rock and what God's doing here, there are just tons of new people here. Mm-hmm. Especially since our big grand reopening. We opened the doors. There's people that had never set foot in this building up until a few weeks ago. Oh. And so when I say 'Cause I Love You, and that it's a great organization, and I talk about Stu Davis and you're here with us, there's a group of people that are Red Rock faithful for a long time who are like, yes, 'Cause I love you, awesome. And they know exactly what it is. Yeah. Then there's a whole segment of people in our church that are like, cool name. What the heck is 'Cause I Love You? So can you just kind of help us understand what is 'Cause I Love You? What kind of an impact are you seeing being made in the city right now through 'Cause I Love You? And just kind of give us a picture for those of us that are new as to what is going on with 'Cause I Love You.
Yeah. So for anybody who is new, 'Cause I Love You really is about. We talk a lot about. In fact, our mission statement says that we're after trying to unite and ignite the local church, so that every woman, man, and child experiences the tangible love of God. That's awesome. So there's a few things that are kind of packed into a pretty short statement. That tangible thing, and we really try and get people serving in tangible ways, try and get the church outside the building, out into the city, into the community, doing tangible things that simply express God's love for people.
Yeah, man, that's so good. That's so good.
Yeah.
Can you share with us? I know we've had lunch and talked through this, but can you share with me just some of the stories and specifically related to the issue of homelessness in our city? Just what God did through 'Cause I Love You and through so many churches. And I think that is such a powerful story of what this partnership and what the partnership with many churches actually tangibly has accomplished in the city.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to go back to a couple of things that was just a handful of years ago. So in 2015, we had, as a city, a very visible homelessness crisis. And we had churches all over the city that were trying to figure out how they were supposed to respond. We had business owners throughout the community that were trying to both be compassionate, but also run a business that was safe and that was safe for their customers and their employees. And there was just a lot of tension in our community around what to do with the issue. And Red Rock Church was amongst one of the first to really kind of craft a conversation basically around the question of what does it look like for a church to be generous to its city. And that was really the birth of 'Cause I Love You. It was a teaching series here at Red Rock, basically framing out that question. And that really began a movement of churches in our community that said, we want to respond, and we want to respond collectively. It can't just come from one church and it can't just come from one organization. There really has to be a collaborative response. And so we had 55 local churches who banded together in response to the mayor's invitation at that time to help fund a larger emergency rescue shelter at the Springs Rescue Mission. And so over the course of the last 5-6 years, the Rescue Mission and many other organizations have been able to build a comprehensive plan that has resulted in just this last June of 2020, the annual county by county survey across the community on homelessness stated an almost 30% drop in the number of unsheltered individuals in El Paso County just in the last year.
Wow.
There's a lot of reasons for that, but I go back to that conversation, those churches, those 55 churches banding together to say, we're going to help be a part of it. And it's moved the needle on something that matters to our city, not just something that matters to a church.
Yeah.
So that's incredible. It's incredible collaboration. It's built tremendous trust with our city leaders. And it's moved the needle on something that has an economic implication. It matters to our churches. It matters to our neighbors. It matters to people who are struggling. It's a big deal.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Man. That's so cool. And I think that's such a huge testament to the work of Because I Love You, the work of Springs Rescue Mission, the work of so many organizations coming in that. And I think that's great for our people to hear at Red Rock, because, you know, we support all these organizations, but then I think sometimes when we say, hey, we support great organizations, you then wonder, like, what's actually happening, what progress is being made. And when you hear a 30% drop in the amount of unsheltered men and women in this county, that's unbelievable. I mean, and I think for me, I know that's the kind of church that I want to be a part of, that doesn't just have services on a Sunday and care about what's going on inside, but that it tangibly impacts what's going on in the community. So much so that if the churches that partnered in that initiative were to shut down, the city would feel it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's such a cool testament.
And it's one thing to be involved in something that matters to the church. Right? You guys are getting ready to move into a new building, you know, in a few months, and that matters to your church. It's something different when we talk about something that matters to our entire community. And when you impact something like homelessness, something like housing, something like education, those things matter at a civic level. And when the church gets involved in that, boy, does it build trust.
Come on, man. That's amazing. So, like, I hear all that, you know, my next natural question is, man, we did all this over the past few years that impacted homelessness. What's next? You know, like, what's on the horizon for you and for our city when you think about the next big thing that God's calling us to tackle?
Man, I'm so glad that you asked that, P, because we have, in response to this issue and the movement that we've created around homelessness, we've been asking, what is the next great need in our city? What's happening in our community that we can really invite churches, invite the faith community to participate with our city on? And there's so much happening in the southeast part of our city that for perhaps many of the people that might be watching this interview or maybe live in a different part of the city, they just may not understand. The southeast part of our city, which we technically define as zip codes 80910 and 80916. But more generically, kind of, you know, in a particular part of the city around those two zip codes, that lack a lot of the infrastructure and the benefits that many of us in other parts of the city perhaps take for granted. Healthcare, access to food, education, transportation, affordable housing, home ownership, business ownership. Those are things that are kind of pillars of community development that in a lot of other parts of town in the Northeast and the North and the West Side that we enjoy and, like I said, perhaps take for granted. But a lot of folks in the Southeast, that's been a real struggle. And we've been invited by some of our city leaders, city council folks, county commissioners, and others to start contributing in ways that can really help elevate the lives of people who are experiencing a lack of some of these infrastructure points. And so we have just recently launched an initiative called the Lift Southeast Initiative, where we're inviting churches from all over our community to really come alongside organizations at the grassroots level, but also at the macro level, the advocacy level, that are doing good work in the Southeast. Come alongside churches, come alongside ministries that are embedded in these neighborhoods. And let's put some wind in the sails so that they can start creating opportunities, start creating benefits for people who are experiencing some of these disadvantages. And I'll tell you what, I'm so excited for not just what can happen in these neighborhoods, but a bigger story alongside like this one with homelessness. To say, let's focus on an issue. Let's focus on a group of
of people on a part of town that are really experiencing some disadvantages. And let's see if we can get a broad-based coalition of people from all over the city to start creating change on, again, something that matters to our community. So I'm so excited to be spending the next few years thinking about how the church can be a resource to folks who are experiencing some of these challenges.
That's so good, man. What would you say to the person that is listening to this right now? Because I know there's several people in our church. When I'm looking out into our congregation, I see so many people out there that I know their stories. And I've met them, and I know that they're processing through faith. Mm-hmm. They're not entirely certain about Jesus. They're not entirely certain about this whole God thing yet. They're not sure what God thinks about them yet. Yeah. Not sure what they think about God yet. Yeah. And so those people are among us, and that's the kind of church we are. We try to be a church that exists as a safe place for people to come and process through faith. When you think about that person that's listening, and we're asking them to step in and serve and to use their strengths, even in a situation and in a church that they're still kind of processing through themselves. What would you say to them in terms of why is it important for them to begin serving and begin getting outside of themselves?
Yeah. Really, you'll never know until you try.
Yeah.
And so when somebody gets out there and like, okay, I'm not even sure about this church thing, I'm not even sure about this Jesus thing, but I'm just going to go serve somewhere.
Yeah.
You never know what might happen. Mm-hmm. And you'll find a strength, you'll find something that God's planted inside of you that all of a sudden comes alive.
Yeah.
Because not only are you doing it as a way to engage with who Christ has made you to be, but it's also a way of engaging with how he's wired you to do it to help someone else.
Yeah.
So I would love for people to just get out there, and if you fail gloriously, you've at least given it a shot.
Yeah, that's so good. And I think that's the key piece, is that in putting yourself out there to serve others, even if you don't yet believe in God, it has the potential to awaken something inside of you. Yeah. And there's so many of us in the room right now and watching online that can attest to that. They can attest to when we started serving others, even before we were quite certain about Jesus and God. Mm-hmm. There was something inside us like, man, we were created to do this. Mm-hmm. We were created to use what God has given us for something more than just us.
Yeah.
And I think that great organizations like Cuz I Love You, like serving here at church, like serving the community, there's tons of ways to do it. Mm-hmm. But the key is just get out there and try it.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, there's no substitute for practice.
That's so good, man. That's so good. Well, man, thank you for this, man. This is huge, and we love everything that you're doing. We support you like crazy, and you got a whole church of people that are rooting for you and rooting for Cuz I Love You and praying for you guys regularly, man. So,
well, it's always a pleasure for me to be with our Red Rock family. So yeah, it's so fun. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, bro.
See you.
Yep. Well, man, I love hearing Stu's heart for our city and the plans for what he's got cooking, of what God is going to ask us and many other churches in the city to step up and be a part of. Everything that's happening on the southeast side of our city. And honestly, I can't wait for our church to step up in a major way. And we're going to have more details and more conversations in the months to come as to what that looks like as we begin to serve the southeast part of our city and send resources to the southeast part of our city. And that's just one of a multitude of ways that we want to be a church that truly meets the needs of our city. And I know that's the kind of church that you want to be a part of, right? Like that's the kind of church that I want to be a part of. Not a church that exists for ourselves, not a church that exists for just the things that happen in our four walls, but the kind of church where if our doors ever closed for good, the city would feel it. The city would grieve it, right? That's the kind of church that we want to be. And so, man, we're going to serve. We're going to serve inside the church. We're going to serve outside the church. We're going to make a tangible difference in our community because of what Jesus has done for us. Now, I know what many of you are thinking right now. Maybe you're thinking, okay, how am I going to find more time and more energy to go and do something else? Right? That's the last thing that any of us need. The last thing any of us even can fathom is adding one more thing to our calendar of something to do. I mean, honestly, when we did City Serve Day back on October 3rd, when I was signing up for that serving opportunity with my family, my first thought was, how in the world are we going to squeeze this in? Because life's just busy and life is demanding. And so I know that there's the temptation in your heart right now to feel like this is just another thing that God wants from you, that God needs you or somehow wants you to go out and give more of yourself and more of something, that God wants something from you. But remember, this whole series we've been walking through, this whole concept of Jesus being worth it all, it was founded on the idea that the commandments that God gives us are not something he wants from us. It's something he wants for us. That Jesus actually wants this for you. Jesus actually wants your life to be exponentially better because you spent yourself serving others, because you got outside of yourself. And I think that's the biggest trick that we convince ourselves into. It's the biggest lie that we buy into, is that if we can have just a little bit more time for ourselves, then we'll be happy. If we can have just a little bit more time for ourselves, then we'll be able to calm everything down. And then maybe we'll get to helping and serving others. And we think that's the key to life, right? If we just get a little bit more me time, everything will be okay. But again, that's a lie. That's a trick that the enemy is trying to lay in your life so that you are taken away from what God wants for you, so that you're taken away from life to the full. See, I know for me, I learned this during quarantine. The quarantine days, which seem like ancient months ago, right? We all had this extra time in our schedule. No one could leave the house. It was like a stay-at-home order. You gotta shut in, right? And so we couldn't leave the house, and so we thought, we've got all this extra time. We'll be able to get around to doing all the stuff that we want to do. And we thought, man, this is a great opportunity for us. But we saw like a week in, we were restless. We were discontent. We had all the me time in the world, and it didn't result in a better life, because that's not the key to life. The key to life is loving God with all of your strength by loving others, by pouring yourself out for others. See, there's something that happens inside of you. I love when Stu said that. There's something that happens inside. There's something that clicks. There's something that comes alive when you find your area of strength, your area of giftedness, and you just start spending your life on serving and helping others. And man, when I think about this, I can't help but think about and honor our elders. And I know some of you are like, elders, what in the world is that? Like, you're new to church, like that's a church word, right? And just, like the term elders doesn't mean, elderly people necessarily. In the New Testament, there were elders, there were men who were set apart to help oversee the church. And I get the pleasure of working with these 5 other guys who help oversee our church. And they're volunteers, and they just love this place to death. But it's a key piece of what makes our church so healthy and so strong, are these 5 guys who serve as elders. Because from my perspective, they're some of the greatest elders that any church in the country could ever have. Because these 5 guys pour themselves out to love other people. These 5 guys invest themselves, and they use their gifts and they use their strengths all the time to serve people in such a beautiful way. And I see it giving them life. I think about Phil. Phil is a home builder, and Phil is pastoring people in our church left and right, having conversations. And then he's up on stage leading worship all day Sunday. I mean, Phil he loves pouring himself out and serving others and loving God with all of his strength. I think about John. And John is a doctor, and John is serving people all week long through his job. But John is just the most friendly, hospitable guy you'll ever meet. And on Sundays, he serves on our guest services team, and he pours himself out. And honestly, for me, anytime we have a need for someone to go be visited in the hospital, John's the guy we call, because John is so caring and he's so loving. And John pours himself out to love other people. And in doing so, he loves God with all of his strength, and he's filled up by it. I think of Frank. Man, Frank is serving in the kids ministry all the time. And Frank is a busy guy with an awesome family, but yet he still finds time to not just focus on himself, but to pour himself out for others, and it fills him up. I think about Sherwin. Sherwin is the most incredible guest services volunteer that you will ever find. One of my favorite things about Sherwin is that Sherwin stands up at the top of the stairs whenever he's greeting. And when he meets someone that's new for the first time, he'll pull out his phone and he'll type up a little note about him. He'll type up their name and a few details about him so that he can be praying for them, and so that when they come back in the next week, he can remember their name. Because that's an important touch, right? When someone remembers your name, it just makes you feel like this is home and this is family. Sherwin pours himself out to love other people, and in doing so, he loves God with all of his strength. I think about Todd, and Todd is just serving people left and right. He's in multiple different areas of ministry, and you won't find a more passionate guy about helping people find Jesus than Todd. And Todd pours himself out, and in doing so, he's filled up with life. You see, these guys are serving others. They're serving with their time, and they're not walking away exhausted. They're not walking away depleted. They're not walking away just like, just completely drained of everything they have. They're walking away, and though they poured themselves out, they actually feel filled up, because this is how you were created to live. You were created to live not just for yourself, but for the benefit of others. Yes, other people need help, but also you need to help. You have a deep need that was created in you to be a blessing to other people, to help and serve other people. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's because that's who Jesus was. You were created to live like Jesus. And you are never more like Jesus than when you pour yourself out for the love of other people. I mean, I think about Jesus' last days, his last hours on this earth, when he was being beaten and humiliated and cussed at and just treated like a criminal, though he did nothing wrong. I think about Jesus being led to the cross and being nailed to the cross and suffering, all for the sake of love. He poured himself out so that you and I could have our lives changed forever, so that you and I could be forgiven and free. And in doing so, Jesus experienced life to the full, and now he sits on his throne in heaven, completely victorious, completely at ease, and it was all worth it. I'm telling you, Jesus wants that kind of life for you. Jesus wants a kind of life where you pour yourself out, and in return, you experience life to the full. You experience victory in this life. And that's what he wants for you. That's what we want for you. And that's why we got some practical steps that you can take today. Some baby steps to kind of get used to what it's like to serve, to get used to what are some different ways that you can begin serving other people and begin to take proactive, actual, tangible steps into living the life that God created you to live.
It's interesting time right now. We're talking a lot about quarantining and being in a bubble. I mean, that's the safe thing to do, right? And that's true. When we're talking about a global pandemic, it's a good thing to isolate and surround yourself with people that you know, and surround yourself with people that you've vetted, people that you know are safe, people that you can be around. And that is a responsible thing to do right now in terms of coronavirus. But beyond that, I want to challenge us to think, what can we do? What can we do to come out of the bubble, to leave what feels safe and to go out into the world and bless someone that doesn't have that blessing? Maybe bless someone who doesn't have the life that we've been blessed with. But beyond that, the most important thing that we can do and should do is invest in this light that is in us and take it out and give it to a world that may not have that light, a world that may have darkness in it. And in these times, man, it's true. People have a lot of dire thoughts. People have a lot of need for you to show joy and to show light and to be God's hands and feet out there. And I've got a tattoo on my arm. It was my first tattoo. My grandma was so mad at me. So if you're a young kid out there, don't do this. You're going to make Mama upset. But it is a Bible verse, 2 Corinthians 3:3, and it says this: "You show that you are a letter from Christ, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not on tablets of stone, but on tablets of human hearts." We're a letter with Jesus' message written on it. And letters are made to be sent out. They're not made to get stuck in a drawer. They're not made to get thrown away. They're made to be read, and they're made for others to be able to read them. So we just challenge you with that today. And I'm going to pray, and we'll have a little break. But before I tell you exactly how you do that, so coming out of this message, let's pray together. God, thank you so much. Thank you for Stu and what they're doing at Cuz I Love You. I thank you for our relationship with them and the opportunities that they give us to reach out and leave our comfort zones and go into areas of this city that need you. And God, I pray that this church, this room right now, anyone watching online, they feel that conviction to take a step and move forward and do something about this light that they've had put in them. And God, I pray that we're just good stewards of our time, and we're good stewards of our city and our community. Amen. Well, today's a little bit different. Coming out of that message, we wanted to give you guys a really practical step, something you can do. And I've started recently in my home doing an emotional check-in. all right? I've told you guys this before. I'm not the best at having emotions, okay? I think maybe they're in there, but I've got to access them. So I do a regular emotional check-in. How am I doing? What am I thinking? What's going on? And we're going to do a little bit of that today at the same time as we kind of want to mobilize you to move out into the world. So you've got a card on your seat, and it's two-sided, okay? One side says, Survey of Regular Attendees, and we would define that if you've been here 5 times or more, all right? The other side is a survey of new guests. If you've been here less than 5 times, and I don't care if that 5 times is over the last year or not, if you've been here less than 5 times, that's the side of the survey that you fill out. And we would love to, honestly, just to get to know you a little bit. The top part is anonymous, all right? There's a perforation at the bottom where you can fill out name and info, but the top part's completely anonymous. You can tell us exactly what you're thinking. You all have a pencil there. Then on the bottom, it says connect on a team. Coming out of what we just heard, going, okay, we're made to be mobilized. We're made to be on the move. You can rip that off. Give us all your information, and we will contact you this week. It may be an area within the church that you want to serve. It may be somewhere that we've never even heard of, an idea that you have that we've never thought of. That's okay. Write that on there too. We want you to be in a place that God's using you, and you're stepping out of that comfort zone. So that survey's there. I want you to fill out the survey. Here's the deal too, all right? We're in Corona season, so leave them on your seat when you fill them out. You don't have to drop them off anywhere. Your pencil, what I want you to do, know that that is our gift to you this weekend, all right? We're going to let you, I'm sorry if you're watching online, we can't mail you a pencil, but take that pencil, toss it in the trash on the way out, stick it in your pocket. We're going to get rid of those and do all new pencils for the next service. So right now, go ahead and fill that out. We're going to give you some good survey filling out music, all right? It's going to put you in the mood. Take a minute or two, fill that out real quick, then I'll hop back on stage and tell you what to do from here. I know some of you all cheated and started your surveys during the message, but Petey's not here, so we won't tell him. Hey, what I want you to do, if you filled those out, just leave them. You can tear the perforation off if you'd like and throw that on another seat if you want your name to be separated from your survey. We're going to sweep through here and collect all of these, put fresh ones out. But thank you for doing that. Honestly, that helps us minister better to this community and also minister better to you guys. So that's it. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys so much for being here and filling those surveys out. We love y'all, and we'll see you next week.